All right, believe we're live. So, mission accomplished. Part of it anyway. And just wait to finish the the starting obligations. There we did that part. And somebody will do comments, I guess, first. Not too many of them, and get that out of the way. And move on to something more interesting, perhaps, or not. Yeah, I don't really have an agenda. Just feel like doing a room, but I do all the website fixing stuff. So after 4 million phone calls and all the rest of the bullshit you have to go through with all the shyster and crooks in the world, everything's starting to fucking work again. So for 2 months, and then I'll go through the same shit again. Anyway, let's see. KW has stated that there's no such thing as a speed of light, but then he says the glass moves more slowly. What the fuck? How does something slow down? Yeah, he doesn't. He does say it in a confusing manner. What he's saying is that somehow there's the ether, as I can understand from reading his book, which still doesn't make it clear, is a field, and it's a field that can do different things. So there's different ether field modalities, I think is the word he uses. But anyway, and so light is induced. It has a maximum speed of induction, I guess you would call it. That is the speed of light. He also says there is such a thing as instantaneous action at a distance, and so I don't know where he gets that from. So I don't know what that has to do with any of this mush. So that's a little bit confusing. So yeah, I don't know. It's obviously he's just he's just full of crap. I mean, he just thinks he has something, and I don't, to me, it's not a thing that has anything to do with drawing a picture or making it simpler, or it's just another bent space thing. It's more complicated than almost anything you could imagine, in the sense that you have to come up with. It doesn't explain any of the movement. It just says that it's being caused by the moviators, and then the moviators is this huge complex thing, and you're just saying, well, how did that explain how it moves? I mean, the moviator thing is impossible to understand, and instead of answering the question, it now creates 5,000 new questions about how it moves, because now you got to explain all this gear work and rubber bands and all this bullshit, all this mechanism. So you haven't explained why magnets attract. You haven't explained why one goes towards the other in any energy conservation manner at all. So anyway, if light were a circuit, which is another silly kind of concept, like somehow it has a return address, somehow it's communicating both forward and backward in some way, running two roads. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. How can light possibly be running two roads? Then why don't I get a shock when I remove film from my camera? Well, I guess if you're mocking his own silly question. But obviously, yeah, if light's full of electricity, why don't I feel like I'm getting shocked? Why do I feel like I'm getting burned instead when I get too much sun? Just because you make 2K videos on something doesn't make you an expert. Makes you redundant. Well, I don't know about that. I've made 2K videos on a lot of things. I've done a lot of video making. I don't think it necessarily makes you redundant, but in Ken's case, it does, because yes, he tells the same stories over and 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 over again. All right, so some guy called Gil Falapezian, creepy icon. What a fool. Stick to smoking crack, buddy, and leave the science to Brian Greene. So you didn't respond to anything in the video. So the video points out basically incorrect statements being made by prominent physics propagandists, and they're blatantly incorrect. And so instead of explaining why it's okay that they're using incorrect premises, instead you're going to insult what? That I smoke? Oh, gee. I mean, yeah, just total weasel behavior. So then Lamb Bartley, another brilliant guy, he has a picture of, he has an icon that has Oppenheimer. I don't know, it's like a mugshot of Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer. Yeah. Um, this was a waste of time. So, the brilliant argument, the same Brian Greene video. So instead of explaining why lying is okay, um, they just make statements as if they're authorities. And, oh, I have to respect you because you have Oppenheimer, you've stolen his image for your icon and are walking around as if you have some right to him and some piece of him. It's really going to irritate me in the future if people have icons with my face on them after I'm dead, pretending that they knew me or had some respect for me or any of that crap. I think that's just grotesque to steal somebody else's image that way. Really poor character, Laham. Anyway, creepiest giggle ever. Yeah, so the giggling video was just useless. So here's another brilliant guy, DB. He has no content on the internet, of course. The light from a distant, high-speed passing object will follow a curved path in reaching the observer. Wow, you sure proved that. The funny thing is what he says here, the light from a distant, high-speed passing object. Why does it have to be high speed? Even right there, you're just like, what does speed have to do with lensing? So the light came off something moving fast. Passing fast. I don't know. Does that really make any difference to lensing? No. So you just showed you're a retard. Very good, DB. I'll leave your comments just so I can point to them in the future and mock you appropriately. And as the witch burners that you're no better than. You're just religious kooks, defending the Pope or something. You're just silly fucks. And you're just going to prove that, basic human nature sucks because a bunch of assholes who don't know what they're talking about talk out of their ass all over the place, and nobody makes them accountable. You should be accountable for what you do and say. And so I would like to be able to make you accountable. Anyway, at 7:22, we can see the spooky action in the distance. Oh, yes, my light goes off. Yeah. Nothing terribly interesting there. Harry Larry says, daft cunt science. Yeah, another brilliant remark from Harry. So, it's not much to chew on from the peanut brain gallery. But did I expect otherwise? I don't think so. Pretty sure I didn't expect otherwise. Is my video working? No, appears to be, I suppose. It says me on the icon, so I guess that means it's me. So let's see, where did I put the video anyway? I guess it's over here. Okay, no comments yet. 7 people watching. Very good. A thumbs down. Oh, some little petty weasel. Yeah, they just can't help themselves. No courage or integrity or balls. No argument made. I'll just do this little, since it's provided to me, just as Donald Trump's provided with mechanisms to not to pay federal income taxes. You are provided with a thumb down, and you just can't resist yourself. Anyway, I mean, And where's the argument? Again, I point out to me somewhere where I have made an unreasonable statement in any of these videos. A just outrageously unreasonable argument. So I just thought I would go through some of the basics again. Just the ideas. I know I was getting redundant on this push-pull thing, but that would be a first argument. So I want to kind of compose questions for Ken. Some sort of easy bunch of questions to have him explain. Because it's like his ether doesn't really work for a fundamental reason, which is the whole light bulb thing, right? So we're back to the inverse square argument. But all the forces are clearly straight line forces, and they all clearly have this divergence issue. The further away you get, the rays of the force spread, at this inverse square ratio. And the only time that changes is when you create a surface that is theoretically infinite in one direction or something, like the wire kind of scenario. So the wire would be only r squared, and then the flat plane. So if you could flatten the emission source. So if I could take a light bulb and flatten it, and I could flatten it into a very large light bulb, theoretically, the light intensity would not diminish no matter how far away I went. I would always have the same intensity of light. So the surface and 100 miles away would be exactly lit the same amount. Theoretically, like I said, because you do have to have at 100 feet, your lighting fixture would probably have to be, a couple of miles by a couple of miles. And then you would reduce the amount of loss, to, a minor number, like 2% or something. So, from 100 feet high to 10 feet high would be the same amount of light. Now, if you went 200 feet away or 500 feet away, then you might have a diminishment in the intensity. It might equal 3 or 4 or 5%. But anyway, it indicates so incredibly loudly, okay, it says so loudly that this radiation is just that, radiation, that it's something that leaves the surface in a straight line path. And why would a field imitate a projectile? Why would a field create the illusion of a projectile's problem, which is coming off of a small surface and not having the luxury of banging into each other, not having the luxury of being squashed into each other and all that kind of stuff? Why would a field create this divergence? And Ken really doesn't address that in his book, as far as I can find. So what yeah, I don't know what's I mean, just these people are just so funny with their comments. This blonde tranny is sexy as fuck. I mean, you really think, I mean, I've never worn makeup, but you really think I would be a hot chick? I mean, what are you, insane? I mean, I would be like a mockery of femininity, I think. So, I mean, I just, I just don't think it's a realistic joke. I mean, maybe you do, but I can't see how it works at all. I mean, I have very harsh features. It's really silly to say, oh yeah, I can make him into a beautiful woman. Come on. I'd be one ugly bitch. So I just don't see it, fella. I mean, you have to insult me with something a little closer to my home, so to speak, because that just isn't going to work. I thought Michael's comment about the spooky action at a distance was funny. Surprising you didn't like it. I don't know. I don't remember it. Spooky action at a distance. Don't remember what you're talking about. Sorry. It's not coming to me. Yeah, no, it's not. Oh, the light. Oh, the light turning on and off. Well, I'm just sorry. I mean, it's a joke I've obviously heard before. And it's like, this isn't, the fact that I have my lights on motion detectors, that's kind of a science kind of thing, right? Like, people should be able to figure out that's what I did. I just have my lights on motion detectors, and so they are on for 10 minutes and then they turn off after I stop moving. Very green and smart, especially when you use $5.68 motion detectors. Although that's probably creates a little bit of a fire hazard, who knows? And I certainly don't wire them quite properly. So, but anyway, I digress. Let's see. I could cream pie while riding like a horse. Yeah, well, whatever. Yeah, yeah, whatever. You're just so funny. Yeah. Anyway, I'll just say goodnight to Sam Googie. Anyway, so where was I? Okay. Yeah, so the idea of this force, having every appearance of being, all the forces having every appearance of being emitted like light is emitted from a bulb. I mean, they're all produced in a manner that behaves that way. And that behavior just doesn't fit very conveniently into some sort of idea of a ether that would be, they kind of be a straight liney kind of thing. Or you could think of it as a matrix, or you can think of it as a lot of things, but it's very hard to the idea of the ether spreading as it goes away from a surface, you're almost getting into like Einstein stretch space, but the stretch would be inverted. The big stretch would be in the wrong places. The divergence, wouldn't duplicate the divergence created, because it would stop at the, event horizon, so to speak. And obviously it doesn't in natural gravity. I don't think Einstein spent space doesn't give you an illustration, a very good illustration, of it. It does the convergence. So I guess, yeah. So I guess the divergence must be correct, but it still doesn't seem quite correct. But anyway, the best case scenario you can make for Ken's ether is that the ether is somehow doing the same thing in the sense that it's warped by the presence of matter, and that somehow that warp creates this very distant effect on the field of ether in the sense that it's pulling these strings, which are making the squares of the ether, the field locations, stretch in 3 dimensions, cubically. It just doesn't seem very realistic as an explanation, and it certainly doesn't fit with his aggressive despise of notions of bent space. Bent ether, is that any better than bent space? And if that's all Ken's really talking about, is somehow the ether bends and therefore the light diverges. But you can't really explain it if you're just going to say it's an inductive. If light is inductive, why would it care? In terms of spread, why would it spread? There's no reason to think all light wouldn't be perfectly coherent. If the ether was doing the conveying, if the ether was the dominant force, the dominant controller, then there wouldn't be symptoms, that are created by light bulbs, which is the fact that the light spreads, diverges. So anyway, it's just such a clear illustration of, and it, just saying, it's just so obviously something you would expect from something shooting something, something, something with a bunch of cannons or something pointed, and they just, the fact that they have to, what's the word I want to use? That if you compress them enough, there's no alternative but to do the spreading thing. It's kind of like when you compress a bunch of things, they'll pop up in places, create little pimples. Some kind of scenario like that would have to be the explanation. But anyway, don't need to harp on that one, but it's just it's just such an obvious. I think the inverse square thing is pretty hard to disconnect from uh, the function of particles moving, because it's exactly what particles will do. Particles create the inverse square rule. So anyway, then again, the push-pull argument is like, like I said. So describing anything attractive is kind of silly. Now, Ken sort of implies that he's going with a push idea, but you don't get any feel for where's the energy for the push again. So again, there's no source of energy. It's just a given that somehow magnets are doing all this twirly stuff. They're centripetal here and they're centripedaling down there, and they're doing all of this action, and somehow this action is responsible for the motion. But there's no conservation of energy explanation for how any of that could be taking place. All right, what else? Yeah, well, the push-pull thing is the big important one. Again, it's just a simple concept, but I think saying to any physicist, to force them to spend any time at all explaining the difference between push and pull, and you could kind of get to the point that why wouldn't push be the mechanism of choice, the one that you would presume a presumptive winner, just because of its simplicity, and that most physicists, I think, understand that the mechanism that's creating an epiphenomenon, some other event, is usually simpler than the event. The things get complicated as they're built on top of each other. That something lower in the strata isn't more complicated than the things higher in the strata. That complex things don't make simple stuff, and it's more likely that simple stuff will combine to make complex things. And so it just seems that a push force is the thing they should be looking for, not a pull mechanism, because a pull mechanism is fundamentally undescribable as anything but complicated. All the things that do any pulling that you know of aren't simple. I mean, either you have to have energy in them. I mean, you actually have to crank a screw or do something to create a pull, or there's something like a rubber band, where obviously there's all kinds of complex physics in what creates the tension that enables it to have elasticity. I mean, elasticity itself is a word. I mean, it's even a word that just implies complexity. So, why would you choose, almost on purpose, to sit there and just ignore the sensible choice of going with something that is it's almost like you're given the choice between a four-dimensional, drawing it in 4 dimensions, and drawing it in 1 dimension. And why would you draw it in 4 if you have the choice of drawing it in 1? I mean, it's just going to be so much easier if push is the right answer, and so you should be sure it's the wrong answer. I guess that's all I'm saying. It's just that the profound lack of investigation into push force, when it should have occurred to these people that push is so fundamentally, just by a huge margin, so much simpler than anything called a pull. And so I guess that's a thing I'd like to push people with theories on, is go ahead, explain to me a simple pull, because it's not going to be simple. You just can't do it without just saying, well, it just pulls, it just does something. It's really hard to come up with a pull that isn't made out of something that somehow has an awful lot of energy built into it, and that energy would be again made out of pull. So an absorption of pull, so to speak. All right, now we got the speed thing, which is another. Ken plays this game like there's some variant in the speed of light, that the light itself actually slows down when it goes through glass. And as I've pointed out, I don't think that's the correct interpretation. The light's traveling the same speed, the photons. It's just that it's being converted. The light doesn't even go through the material. The light itself is converted into force. The force takes time as it moves through the thickness of the matter, the pieces of the matter. And then when the force is excreted at the other side of the transparency, it's really a new photon that's being excreted. The original photon doesn't travel from one end of the glass to the other end of the glass. Photons don't work that way. They're converted into energy and force, and the force moves electrons, and it does a lot of things before it reaches a point where, again, the electron doesn't have energy to be released from the matter. So instead of, it has enough energy, it has energy, but not enough to be released. And so the photon releases the electron releases a photon. So surface electrons they have to be hit with a substantial amount of energy to have enough energy to push the actual electron out of its bonds. And if it's short of that, then the electrons will likely expel the energy as a photon. Often in infrared, in most substances, and in light, it's fairly good at releasing it in the same quanta as it received it, because of the structure of the pathway through the medium, the chemistry. So yeah, there's no speed changing. All force is the speed of light, and it's the speed of force. And that's how, this is just another one of those things where you could argue, if I said to a physicist, well, let's forget about the speed of light, because that's really not telling the story. We should be saying the speed of force, because gravity, one of the most important forces, and magnetism are moving at this speed. And so it's not the speed of light, it's the speed of force. And then you can understand that, wouldn't that lead to people recognizing that, oh, well, maybe photons aren't something special. They're just a form of force, a form that we can, that electrons are able to react to absorb the energy of, where other forms of force, they're inert to, in terms of creating something that we can see, or something that, no, so not see is just another word for moving another electron. So I have to come up with a better way to say that. But clearly gravity moves electrons, but it moves them quite differently than photons do. So, but I think that's just strictly the polarization issue. So instead of reflecting, they are being, instead of reflecting off the surface, they do in fact penetrate and reflect off the interior surface. But that's I don't want to get into those kind of complexities of the stages of the types, but it's an important thing though, because that's what explains the difference between these different forces. I mean, why some penetrate through things, and why they're absorbed, why the momentum of the force is absorbed, and in other circumstances the momentum of the force isn't absorbed. It's clearly in gravity, the momentum of the force is absorbed by the electrons and the protons, but just as clearly, they don't emit light through that process. And generally speaking, I'm just trying to think it that obviously they will emit light if you stop their procession. So I mean, if you stop them from accelerating and create a force to stop their acceleration, that's called an impact, like a cement hitting cement or something. And it may be true that a great deal of infrared radiation may be emitted in such a circumstance. You probably get a little bit warmer when you hit pavement from a few hundred feet, probably. Yeah, so that's but it just does matter that there is a connection between what goes in and what comes out, and you have to have enough energy to. Photons have, by definition, a little more energy just because of the photon part, the part that you have to have two polarized elements at a specific frequency, where gravity doesn't function that way. And so that might be the substance of the reason why moving electrons move by gravity when they lose their velocity or their acceleration. When they decelerate, that they don't necessarily emit light is because they received the energy in a form that doesn't provide them a mechanism for releasing polarized radiation at specific frequencies. Yeah, that might be a good way to say it. Beyond the generic infrared radiation, which they seem to prefer. There seems to be the preference is to leak infrared radiation. All right, it seems reasonable enough. And so what else is left? Well, yeah, I just started getting on it with the polarization and frequency. So there's really only, there's just these three forms of force. Quanta, randomly polarized at random frequencies. Gravity, which would, well, I guess it's four. Gravity, so that's gravity. Yeah, the three. And then, so random polarization, random frequency, that's gravity. Magnetism would be specific polarization, but no need for there to be a frequency. And light, or everything on the electromagnetic spectrum, would be specific polarization at a specific frequency of occurrence. And so those are your three forms of energy, and that encompasses everything that makes anything move. And the only thing that really does move are electrons and protons and neutrons. Nothing else really moves. Gravity is a nuclear force. It's just moving electrons and protons and neutrons because they're a collection of a specific polarization. The other polarization is bouncing off of it and reflecting, and in that reflection process is changing the polarization of the interior bit, and so the momentum goes into the matter, and the polarization goes the other way. I mean, it's converted. And so it's just finding the exact circumstances. What exact circumstances is the polarization reflected, and what circumstances is it not? And that's about it. So the forces matter can be transparent to force in different conditions. So if it's similar force, it'll tend to seem like it went straight through, like a pure kinetic interaction. And if it's dissimilar polarization, they will reflect. And the momentum will take the old polarization will take the new momentum. That's probably a safer way to say it. Oh, yeah, another brilliant argument. Oh, wow, you're so smart. LOL, do you actually think frequency exists? Yeah, I actually think you can fire a gun, and then you can wait a second and fire it again, and then you can wait a second and fire again. And that's called a frequency, retard. Frequency is relative and subjective. Hey, Joe, why don't you just fucking die? Okay, it would do me a favor. So, yeah, just get to it, you fucking fat pig. Oh, God, what a useless troll. Let's see. True frequency does not exist. Well, it says you. Wow, who are you, Mr. Authority? You wrote the book on it, like Ken? Is that it? Or did you write the book? Huh? The most popular book ever? It's a consequence of scaled systems. Well, isn't that a brilliant thing to say? Why don't you just say Tinkerbell did it? Or the leprechauns? What a waste of time. Fucking idiots. So you're on record. Ricketts. It's actually his name, Ricketts. Asshole. All right. Where was I? Yeah, summing up. Yeah, I was doing polarization and frequency, right? Yes. Yeah, so that's the whole, I mean, it's all conservation. It explains everything. All the forces come from somewhere, and usually the, the biggest place to come from is the field energy. And the rest of it is just polarization trapped. And so all being exchanged is not the actual movement of something, but what the polarization is actually always got an occupant, but the occupant of the polarization is always changing, because each interaction, the polarization is reflected again. So in a sense, you can kind of understand that in a pressure field where you have a polarization that's hostile to the energy around you, that every time you go in a direction, you'll inevitably be hit some energy coming the other way, and you'll be reflected. You'll gain that momentum, but you'll keep your polarization. And then as you go down, you'll end up doing the same thing. And you'll just keep bouncing back and forth against the pressure of the field energy. So whatever, and if the field energy ends up having some polarization that's your own in it, that'll give you an opportunity to go much further, because you can travel through polarization that's similar to your own. So yeah, I really have to I have to have a standard picture of the silly X thing, because it's just so obvious in these kind of descriptions that you can sort of get it, that there's nothing happens unless this polarization gets deflected kind of concept is just so obvious to what's happening. And there's my red. This red will be more visible, I hope. And that once you see that, I mean, once you can realize that this is a dramatic difference between one circumstance and the other circumstance. So, this is the whole thing right there. So in this case, two things come in and two things go out, and you can't tell whether they reflected off of each other or they went straight through each other. Any universe you make is always the same universe. Nothing can change through interaction. And it's even more obvious in the head-on collision, where two things hit, but exactly the same stuff ends up going through it. So it's as if they missed each other. And clearly, if polarization is reflected, then it's two different universes. You can't say everything's the same, because obviously polarization was going this way and now it's going 90 degrees different, and that's a big difference in the universe. And then a head-on collision would mean that, well, I might as well draw it because it's kind of significant. I mean, it's quite important. And as an understanding of the concept, anyway, of what's happening. But it's really just so dirt simple. And this would be the mechanism that makes the universe. So the idea would be is two opposite polarizations. If these two things were the same color, you could see that, yeah, it's blue goes up, blue goes down. You can't tell whether they hit each other or they missed each other. But if they're different polarizations and it reflects, that's where you have a very different universe. You have exactly the opposite circumstance. Blue has an opposite momentum and red has an opposite momentum. So that would be the part where I'm talking about inside of like an electron. If you have all red and the gravity is the blue, so to speak, you could sort of understand that no matter where the red went, red's going to hit blue, so it's just going to end up getting constantly reflected and bouncing off the pressure field. And that if a red one showed up, that the red would go back to the blue on blue circumstance. The red could go straight through, in the sense that there's no impediment to its momentum now, because the interaction will be invisible. It'll be as if the interaction didn't happen, which means the red went straight. So it can go. So the irony is the head-on collision with this identical polarization actually gives you the opportunity to travel in that direction, because it eliminates any rebound or reflection. So it's only in reflections that acceleration is absorbed. And so I think that's something where I should write that one down, because that's an important piece of this whole thing. I think I have it written down. Well, I have it written down in 400 different places. Is absorption of momentum. So, all right. So, and force does represent momentum, even though we can make arguments about whether gravitons have a mass or whether photons have a mass. I would argue they obviously have a mass in the direction they're traveling. They have no tangential or perpendicular mass, so they only have mass in one dimension. But they certainly have mass in that direction. And what gives us three-dimensional mass is just the simple fact that we're like the light bulb. We're radiating force in all three dimensions, and therefore have three-dimensional mass. So our mass is so much more obvious than something that only has one-dimensional mass, because something with one-dimensional mass has to be moving the speed of light, and you're not really going to be bouncing anything off the side of it, especially a photon. So you're not going to be able to see one. Yeah, I think that's an adequate explanation. So, I don't know if I want to get into magnetism, as that really takes pictures, and I really haven't drawn sufficient pictures. But it's just this momentum thing. Like I said, this all adds up to it fits perfectly with the conservation of energy and force. It creates a mechanism that's perfectly accountable. How come my keyboard broken or something? My taskbar just keeps showing stuff, even though I'm not, I wasn't, the mouse wasn't on it. It wasn't doing all that big thing. Anyway, Windows 10, irritating. I'm getting a little bit used to it, but it's just horrible. Hello, whatever those marks are. I don't really know what that means. Slash, comma, comma, slash, or something. I don't know what that is. The international symbol for I have a leaky asshole. No, I'm sorry. I don't really have a cure for that here, so I don't know. You know, you sit around and hope, but I still don't think I can fix that for you, fella. Let's see. Hi, I was wondering about the applications of your theory. Well, as stated, I mean, the application might be that I can invent a button that, once pressed, will create a harmonic frequency that will essentially blow the entire universe up. So that might be one of the applications. It seems theoretically quite possible that the whole universe could be vulnerable to a kind of virus, that basically eats electrons, or even protons. I mean, our crude nuclear physics is taking advantage of radioactive elements, but theoretically, you may be able to shape a particle that goes into an electron and does the same thing that neutrons do to atoms, in the sense that it will cause the electron to break, shatter it, and create copies of itself in that process, in the sense that they are just a simple length of like a quark. And so one quark goes in, 10 quarks come out, and they destroy electrons. So, yeah, so it really is theoretically possible. I mean, I like the idea myself. I like the idea of just being able to unravel the entire universe. Would be so much fun. Because it's evil at its core. Bunch of mindless mush. Speaking Spanish. Oh, is that what you're doing? I don't know. What are you talking about? Huh? Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I don't get you. I don't know how it sounds like Tesla. I mean, Tesla, look, I mean, you read his biography. I mean, you're just saying to yourself, I mean, he was just such a fanatic. I mean, nice guy, you want to root for him and stuff, but he was like Ken, he really thought he had it all. I invented everything. I was great. I was brilliant. I did everything. And yeah, this whole death ray idea was just so fucking stupid. And you could see it in, I mean, the Tesla coil, you can just, the giant tower thing. I mean, you could just see the stupidity of it, in the sense that, what did you think you were going to be able to do? Do you really think you were going to create a beam of lightning that wouldn't go to the ground? I mean, there's just, there's never in your life are you going to see lightning that travels 7,000 miles, horizontally. Lightning doesn't do that, Tesla, and you know that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's like, where did he have this idea that he could possibly create, a charge, and then have that charge travel without being completely absorbed by the ground? And so then, later, I mean, he actually did adapt his theory to do the harp thing, kind of like, well, here, if I put enough electricity into the ground, I can create a noise, and you might be able to hear it across the world. Well, we already know we can do that. You want to send Morse code with nuclear bombs? Yeah, that'll work, but it's fucking retarded. I mean, who would think it's a great idea? Yeah, let's send Morse code by blowing up huge giant bombs. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, we got 7,000 more bombs to set off, and I can spell my name. I mean, just too stupid. Oh, please, this Jesus crap. You've already done this before, spamming for Jesus. I mean, Jesus Christ. What kind of lunatic would come into a DraftScience room? I mean, obviously, you're not trying to make money. You're just being a complete fucking cunt. I hope Jesus gives you cancer, a very horrible brand of cancer, and tortures you precisely in the manner you should be tortured, because I'm sure Jesus doesn't want you in heaven. Oh yeah, let's let that spammer guy in heaven. Oh yeah, we all love spam, don't we? No, Jesus isn't saying, "Oh, I love spammers." Yeah, you're fucked, asshole. Enjoy hell. You deserve it. I mean, there's very few who actually do deserve hell, but you do. Well, let's see. Spics and their religion. That's just too classy a remark for me to ignore. So, good night, Gracie. Man, they ought to just kill 87% of the people on the internet. I mean, it's just quite obvious. They all need to be put in a concentration camp and killed horribly. I mean, the government ought to get right on this one. They're kind of outing themselves as complete assholes. So why don't we just get to the building of the concentration camps and the killing of the useless trolls? I mean, I don't need propaganda or anything, right? I mean, I don't have to make up lies about trolls, right? I could just say, hey, they're trolls, right? The just yeah, the loser, asshole, time wasting, motherfucking useless, socially destructive pieces of crap. Yeah, let's kill those things. Let's apply the penicillin, the social penicillin. Let's save civilization from the sickness of the useless idiocracy. I guess I really should make a channel. Let's kill the trolls or something like that. you know, Nazi for troll killing or something like. I don't know how to exactly organize the movement, but it just seems like such an obvious enemy. I mean, anybody who would defend a troll is a troll, so I mean, it's just going to be so easy. Gee. And you just can't get this one wrong. There's just no way, you just can't get it wrong. You can't, there's nothing useful about trolls. I mean, it's just so obviously a useless sack of shit piece of crap. I mean, it's like saying, should we clean bird shit off of statues? Yeah, well, duh. So maybe someday the world will grow up. Well, I'm just saying, if you're going to have a Holocaust, if you're going to do some genocide or whatever you want to call it, yeah, you might as well make it rationalicide and kill people not because of their genetic code, but because of their behavior. So, yeah, you know, and how bad their brain works. I mean, if they got a shitty brain, look, if your toaster burns your house down, you throw it out, right? You burn it, you kick it, you throw it in the junkyard. You don't sit there and, oh, it's just trying to be a toaster. It was trying. It's not its fault. It's determinism. Yeah, you don't do this shit. Oh, yeah, it's just determinism. Fuck that. You throw it the fuck out. You don't let it make no more toast. I mean, I don't know why the world is so full of people that are. Well, I guess it's so full of people that are. I mean, idiocracy has won. Most people are lying, cheating, weaselly scum. So they're very defensive. Anytime you start outing the lying, weasel, sneaky, crappy cheaters, then they all get paranoid because they know they're going to be on the list then. It's like all the Trump supporters just defending cheating. And you're just like, what the fuck? What do you believe in then? Nothing? You stupid weasels. You just believe in you, right? Whatever you want, you should have. Yeah, so you don't even understand the concept of civilization, do you, assholes? You have obligations here on Earth. You're just this isn't just some toy you're playing with. There's real facts, and the fact is that when you waste money, when you waste people's time, it essentially means you've killed people, because people are dying for money. They're dying to pull shit out of the ground. They're dying to create this civilization. It all takes risk and work, and any work that's wasted means that the people who are doing risky work have to take more risk. And so instead of having two people do the job that one guy's doing now and do it better, we can't do that. We can't do the job right. We have to do the job half-ass, because we're wasting all of our money making antivirus software and protecting ourselves from trolls and weasels and cunts and liars and cheaters. Our phones don't work anymore because it's all a bunch of assholes with tape recordings. Why are we putting up with this shit? That's killing people. I mean, these assholes don't think that kills people, but that kills people. Anytime you degrade the function of our society, you're killing people. You're destroying their lives. Real people will be destroyed by that inevitably. That waste will come home to roost, and that a human being will have a diminished life because of it. And these assholes, most of people just can't figure this out. No, you can shit in the living room all day long. It's not a problem. The magic shit eater will come and take it all away. No, that won't happen. So anyway, that's not very physicsy, but it is very fundamental. It's just a fundamental rule of civilization. You have to care for it. You have to maintain it. You have to feed it. You have to build it. And you're not going to build it by celebrating asshole. Celebrating asshole will not make civilization. Protecting, giving the Nobel Prize to, shit. They did that this week, shit, just complete, like, oh, who the fuck could possibly care, science? And it's kind of funny too, because they give away 3 Nobel Prizes for 3, contributional kind of things, and it's kind of funny because in a way that, it like dilutes the meaning of the Nobel Prize. If you're going to sit there and give out 3 of them to 3 guys that did 3 mediocre bits that add up to something that might be okay, it's worth something, but what it's worth is, who knows. I mean, on that subject, it has to do with this, the fact that you can only, the quanta has really at the real roots of electrons, that you can't make a half of an electron. You can't make a half of an electron, and that goes right with my theory. So it's kind of funny. There's no quantum bits, in the sense that it's quite rigid in terms of you have to do the full. You can't create a layer of charge or matter without it being a full layer. But that seems kind of obvious, right? I mean, did anybody really think there was going to be like a half of an electron? No, come on. So, I mean, I don't even think the science is all that brilliant, in the sense that, wow, we discovered that you can't have a half an electron. Oh. Gee, how incredible. I don't think so. So what else? You have to think about what elseable. Do I really need to do any more? Yeah, I'm just trying to put it together, just to, I want to make a 1-hour video kind of re-explaining everything with the new bits included. But I got to work on my Arrow software. Maybe I got to do that tomorrow, probably, because I've been distracted by all this other shit. Gee, that's so cool. What a cool person. Oh. I mean, what is that lame ass bullshit? So his name, just for posterity. Let's see. Oh, official in Fog Global guy again. Oh, see, you can't get rid of these people. I don't know why they don't give you some kind of, you know, real blocking features here. Let's see. Maybe I'll type a question mark into this field and see if it gives me any kind of authority to do something and kill these fuckers. Question marks. No, doesn't give you any help. Let me type help. H-E-L-P. Okay, see if that works. Nope. So, no blocking features available. Great. That just sucks. So anyway, I'll type his name in over here, and that way you can all know it for posterity. So, YouTube allows little cunts like this to roam across the internet doing silly bullshit like, well, I'm going to mute the guy in his own room because I'm a Muslim and I don't like free speech. So, but yes, just kill these people. Kill them. I would vote for it. I think there should be a referendum. Should we kill useless trolls? I think I can get a bill passed. I think I can convince most people that it's in the interest of preserving your civilization not to let it get raped by a bunch of weaselly, anonymous, malicious hooligans just tipping over cars. It's all these useless, probably white trash. It's all this useless white trash is good for. We ought to send these friggin' European spawn back home. Send them back to their home countries. You know, let them live in that filth and get eaten by bed bugs. So the other thing I did see, I saw some of those Veritasium videos, and man, he gets 1 million views on some of these videos, and they're just such junk. It's, you know, some of them are, you know, yes, it's pretty good science, but it's like most of it's boring as fuck in the sense of obscure phenomenon that's not terribly interesting. I mean, spinning wheels and all that kind of shit. But anyway, not bad. But some of it is just pull out of your ass, and he talks as if there's somewhere they've proven it, right? So the latest video he did was on galaxies and their birth. Well, that was how he sold the video, right? But the video really didn't have shit to do with that. It was just all a video about this whole fucking punctuated expansion of the Big Bang. You know, like, oh yeah, 10 times the minus 16 seconds into the Big Bang, there was a huge expansion, and then, you know, and then 179 million years later, oh yeah, there was another big, huge expansion. And I mean, they're just making this shit the fuck up. And it's like he's talking like, yeah, we got this hard evidence that this is the way it happened, and it's just no doubt about it. And then like 5 years ago, the universe started expanding again. I'm like, what? What, do you really think that happened? Oh yeah, 5 years ago, the universe started expanding again. Yeah, I'm sure it did. Yeah, sure. I mean, the whole, you know, see, that's the evil of, you know, Einstein bringing up this bent space, because once he bent space, now they can do anything they want to it. And so now they can create space without creating velocity. It's magical. You know, and somehow this this expanding space doesn't hurt the electrons any. They don't care if there's twice as much space between them and the protons all of a sudden. No problem. I mean, I say big problem. I just think there's just such thin fucking evidence. I mean, just these silly, stupid equations, and they're just so. I mean, the equations are just full of variables and minutia. I mean, they're not like E equals mc squared equations. No, they're these convoluted, you know. And so, I mean, why even bother? I mean, you don't. These people don't even know exactly what they have for an atomic model, and then they sit there and speculate about what the atoms were doing, you know, a millisecond into some sort of whatever their notion of a big bang is. They don't even know what was banging, and yet they sit there and draw all these conclusions. It's just like, what the fuck? Well, I just make fun of Europe. I mean, it's, I'm just saying. I mean, I tend to like it. It's just that when some of it is just, it's gotten just as rubbish as America. So I'm not, whatever. I don't have any great respect for America. It's just turned into a dirty, stinking place also, full of trash. Um, but it's just that whole idea of like somehow I guess it's just this whole this white elitism bullshit. It's just so many racists here now, and they're fucktards, and it's just you're just saying these dumb, I mean real white trash sitting there pointing their fingers at black trash or something, and you're just like, what the fuck? And you do see over in Europe that you really don't know what the fuck you're doing over there either. I mean, you've taken over so many American values. You've allowed yourselves to become hamburger eaters. So, I'm just saying, anything tacky and crass about America, Europe eats it up. Oh, well, you're saying it proves something, huh? Gee, I mean, gee, it's proving, right? Have you seen the video of the experiment proving manifest pi equals 4 in kinetic situations? Well, that's not what he first said, that it was kinetic situations. But again, it doesn't, it's totally useless to talk about, uh, um, in my opinion, um, moving geometry and then say you're doing regular geometry. You're not doing regular geometry. What's the point? So, I mean, pi is a relationship between the diameter and the circumference. It's solid. So if you want to call it some other relationship you're making, like the speed of light is not instantaneous, therefore, in a non-instantaneous drawing of a circle, okay, I can create hidden distance. Well, that's it's not pi. So I don't know what equation you're going to use your pi equals 4 thing to do anything brilliant, but uh, I don't think it's going anywhere. Well, I'll have to read I didn't read the most recent paper on it, but maybe I'll read it. But I find it all a little bit tedious because he doesn't really provide much visual aids. Um, so a lot of times when he's saying something, it's you're required to do all this math to figure out what he's talking about, and that doesn't make it much fun. Um, oh, where's the video? I ain't seen no. Well, I'll just look under pi equals 4. I mean, is that it does? Is it under his name on YouTube or something? All that's on his website are links to PDF files. So, just saying. You won't be able to post a link, but you can post a title. I can certainly Google that. But again, I'm just saying moving geometry is drawing. What you do when you're drawing something and what you do when it's drawn. You can't really do math on things that are moving. You have to do integrals, and those are just approximations anyway. I always liked the white space part of pi myself. I mean, I always kept playing with the idea of the white space number, which was like 6.9 or whatever, and playing with the white space that makes a circle and the geometry of that white space. But I can't remember exactly what I came up with doing that. But obviously, you can always use the inverse of something. And sometimes the inverse tells you more than the regular thing. So it's kind of like the cheat they have of wavelength and frequency being exactly the same number, just inverse. One gets bigger with speed and the other one gets smaller with speed. Speed in terms of momentum or frequency. And those little games you can play can be fun, but I don't know if they're really saying anything or doing anything different. They're just adding a way of tricking an equation by, in one equation you can basically make the frequency go away by multiplying it times the wavelength. You can kind of neutralize it in the equation. Yeah, well, again, yeah, I just don't know how useful that's going to be as a statement. Let's see, do I have a place to post this? I can post it in here. Save it for later. Oh, wrong keyboard. Yeah. Better save it, because if I don't save it, it won't probably get destroyed when my computer crashes. Oops, I didn't mean to hit that. Uh-oh, did I mess up something? Yeah, go back to the watch page, thank you. Accidentally hit the edit button. Anyway, where was I? Have to pay attention here. Let's see. Did I mess up something? Back to the watch page. Yeah, gotta turn that off because I don't need to hear me talking. Anyway. No. Yeah, well, that's kind of bold talk. Extraordinary experiments. Extraordinary experiments usually means gimmicks. But whatever. Yeah, well, I've run Linux before, but it's the problem is I really never use a computer just for interneting. I always need to use it for some other processing, and it's just that you can't get drivers that work for anything. It's just such a hassle, and it doesn't do shit for video, which is a big hunk of the work I do. It's got crap software for that, so I don't find it incredibly useful. That's all. It doesn't do what I need it to do in terms of the software that can run on it. I think it's great.
for different tablets, different kinds of things where you just, if I was a guy who went out more and I could run it on a laptop and just use the laptop to do, like I said, internet shit and email, then yeah, I'd certainly have a Linux machine. But I just don't, like I said, it just isn't practical for my functionality. And I'm getting to be like an old dog learning new tricks things. I don't like learning new tricks. And I don't even like Windows 10 because it won't run some of the software I'm addicted to. And it pisses me off, because I don't want to learn something new. I want everything I want Windows like 3.1. I just want to be able to, have even WordPad in Windows 10 is a nightmare. You can't find any of the settings. Everything's all over the fucking place. You can't get any of the settings to stay the way you set them. You set it for word wrap. Next time you open it, it doesn't wrap. It's just really little irritating things. They're just so fucking irritating. I'm not a big fan of changing unless you're changing something that's actually broken. Frankly, WordPad wasn't broken. Shouldn't have fixed it. But the whole word processor thing over time, just all the incompatible standards, all the bullshit, it's just incredible what a mess they made of something that should be quite simple. It's even JPEG files, they've been fucking around with those, and it's like, some of my older software, you can't even recognize JPEG files, because they fucked them enough that they're different enough, that it can't figure out what it is. So you have to do some stupid conversion to get it to work. I don't know, just so many little things, just little gripes, but yeah, I guess I'm just too busy to waste time on learning curve stuff. I just don't have any more learning curve in me. Mostly. And such. So I don't think there's anything else spectacular. There was some guy, I don't know if he's listening, but some guy posted some, one of these things where he's giving me advice, about the argument with Ken, and it's like, well, fuck you. The advice is, why don't you stay off the subject of lenses? And, I said in the video I did that I'm not an expert on lenses. And I said, these are the things I would consider if I was worried about lenses. And so then he went into this whole spiel on micro contrast. And I was just like, this is just some more of this semantical crap. They changed things that are a perfectly good word, right? A perfectly good word is called resolution. There's no such thing as micro contrast. People at observatories with giant telescopes, I don't think they go around saying to each other, hey, what's our micro contrast? No. They understand the physics of resolution, and apertures, and the fact that, for a certain size lens, there's a certain distance where you're not going to be able to tell two suns from one sun, that the light will be compressed into one thing. You'll lose the resolution. So you won't be able to see that there's two headlights, if to use that description. There's a certain distance where when a car's coming at you, you can't see that there's two headlights. You can only see one light. And telescopes have the same kind of resolution problem, and it has to do with the size of the lens and all of that kind of crap. So if you're really going to get into some argument, jackass, about lenses, the first argument you would argue about micro contrast, okay, would be the size of the fucking lens. If you want micro contrast, well, the easiest way to likely acquire it is to have the whatever you call the last lens. Make sure that's a damn big one. So, but just, people have to be such assholes about it. You know, I don't mind you saying I don't know anything about lenses. Well, it's true. I don't. It's like I do know something about lenses. It's just that I'm saying for the purpose of my argument, I'm arguing his physics. Now, the fact that he's now mixing physics and cameras, well, you know, I still want to argue the physics that's in the video. Yes, half the video was about lenses, but half the video was about his theory of light. And I was arguing his theory of light, not his theory of lenses. So, I mean, I'm sorry I deleted your comment, but I really just find it kind of rude. I'm not soliciting your fucking advice. And, you know, you're welcome to make a counter argument, but leave it at that. Make a counter argument. I don't need the rude insinuations. I mean, it's your choice to make them, but I'm just saying I'm going to take those as hostile. See, I mean, you can't just play this game like because I called Ken an asshole, that means that somehow I was unfair to you, because that's not how it works. All right. So if you come to me with an attitude because I insulted your hero, well, from my perspective, you got no right to do that. So you have to first prove to me that I should have respect for you. And you can't do that by being disrespectful to me. I don't know. You can't understand that? I mean, to me, this seems kind of obvious. Like I said, I don't go around the internet trolling people. You know, if I want to argue something, I argue the specific point. I don't make a bunch of accusations and suggestions. So I argue the point without being, without insinuating whether the person has the head up their ass. The only exception might be a religious kook, but I really don't think I've ever commented to a religious kook, so I don't think there's ever been a problem. Yeah, I'm not big on ancient anything being a source of great knowledge. So, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't think there's a bunch of hidden knowledge in the Bible. They didn't even know what a virus they didn't know what a microbe was, for fuck's sake. I mean, if they're going to hide some knowledge in the Bible, you think it would have been the knowledge that there was microorganisms, you know, instead of the hidden knowledge of dragons or something. So any incidental relationship between, because they say 3, 6, 9 somewhere in the Bible. I mean, okay, yeah, that's sort of, ooh, look at that, 3, 6, 9. That must mean something. Does those numbers look weird? Well, yeah, I don't think it means anything. I'm just saying, look at the law of averages. You know, if I say that physics has, you know, 700 numbers that are interesting looking, okay, you could say that, yeah, that's inevitable that those sequence of numbers will show up somewhere else, like in a Betty Crocker recipe or something. It really just doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean Betty Crocker figured out the, you know, the time differential, you know, in, you know, of a harmonic resonant frequency and, you know, a uranium isotope. So, well, I'm just saying, I mean, it just smells of truth or desperation, you know, when you go back into books and sit there and say, there's secret codes in these books that have knowledge of the real world. And, you know, the guy's talking about how big his feet are. And you're going to sit there and say, look, it's a secret code for something. I mean, no point. Yeah, why don't I believe you, Joseph? Yeah. The number of letters X is the product of the letters, the numbers, the words X, the product of the words was a formula. Yeah, well, whatever. Whatever you're doing, I'm just saying that I don't see any value. It just seems like there's a lot of people who are desperate to find something meaningful in the universe. And the universe makes AIDS viruses and praying mantises and Lyme ticks, and yeah, I could go right down the list of all the dinosaurs. I mean, that's what the universe does, and there's no magic number. You know, there's no, there's no, there's no secret function. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just saying. Yeah, Joseph, I don't know what you think this is. How is it at all useful? Hey, Gary, hope you're having a really nice day. First, I don't think hope is. what am I going to do with that? Oh, I got some hope change. I'll put that in my pocket for later. You know, I mean, I'm sorry. I just can't do anything with it. I mean, even if even if somebody like the Pope said, "Hey, I hope you're having a great day. I'll let Jesus know you're a great guy," I'd still be like, "Oh yeah, thanks, sure." Like that's gonna work. I mean, I wish if you had some kind of power to make hope into something, I'd say, "Okay, well, gee, that's really great. I got some hope on my side." But yeah, hope really doesn't do much for me. So I'm, sorry that you're offended that I don't, say thanks a lot. you know, cool. Sorry, it's just kind of a useless distraction, if you get me, Joe. I mean, presumptively, I would assume you're, not doing voodoo against me. But even if you were, I don't need to know because I don't care. So have at it. You know. I mean, if you have any video of you doing voodoo, it'd be, that might be interesting. But yeah, it just doesn't. Yeah, I'm just not I'm just not a social person. So doing social stuff just isn't gonna do much for me. Unless you're gonna show your tits or something. And even that, it's just, I've seen a lot of tits now. It's especially video tits are almost useless. So yeah, there's just not much room for social interaction. I'm kind of in the business. I'm doing the business of cultural. Let's see if I can come up with a Ken word. Let's see, remagnification. Now, well, I should think of one. He's got so many great terms, right? Yeah, cultural centripetal upliftiation. It's very simplex. It's all over his book, simplex. It's so simplex, even a 2-year-old can understand it. Okay, you understand it in some sort of vague, kind of silly way, like beetle, 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 beetle. But not in any kind of rational way. I'm gonna name my frog Beetle. As most of my friends in this say that it is not believed anyways, or something to that point, but I'm in the UK. What is the general consensus about the split experiment, as most of my friends on the subject say it is not believed anyway? Well, I don't even know what that means. What isn't believed? I mean, obviously there's tons of documentaries talking about the fact that this is what is believed. So, I mean, to say that there's some sort of energy for an opposite description than some sort of silly wave theory, it seems to me the wave theory is, owns the territory, and the Copenhagen interpretation although not a majority, is the most popular minority opinion as the mechanism. But then you also have the many worlders who believe every single time an electron hits a photon hits an electron, which let's just say is so many freaking times. I mean, in that 1 second, you know how many times a photon hit an electron in that 1 second? And these idiots think a new universe was created each fucking time. I mean, it's just an unimaginably preposterous conception of reality. And you're saying, yeah, it's hard to imagine how physics isn't as bad as witch burners if this is the kind of shit they believe. I mean, it's just insanely. As a theory, it's three bears wacky. I mean, I couldn't even make a fable wacky enough to fit with such a silly presumption. And it's just a presumption. It's not something. It's not a single piece of evidence for it. It's just a silly way of explaining a circumstance. I mean, preposterously silly way to explain it. And they're calling that physics. And you're just like, well, that's not physics. That's fucking religion. And it's not even as bad as religion. Like I say, religion has some connection to reality. God isn't, a red-spotted salamander. I mean, at least the religious people were smart enough to make God humanoid. I mean, fuck. So I don't know exactly how to answer your question. Is what I'm saying. It's just not a well-worded. I will clarify for next time. Okay, thank you. Ways are out to get you. Have you heard about the physicists believing we live in a matrix? Yeah, well, I'm just saying the hologram guy ain't no better. Suskind. We do live in a matrix in the sense that this is a deterministic mechanical universe, and the programs are running, and they're going to run. There's no way to escape the mechanism's mechanical nature. So, in a sense, the assholes are going to be assholes. I'm going to argue with the assholes in the hope that the assholes can be changed and modified by being hit by energy, from my mouth, and that somehow the subtle frequencies will associate with certain concepts and principles, and their brains will, acknowledge the existence of those concepts and principles, and that will be the inevitable future. But I mean, I'm just saying, whatever happens is written already. I mean, we're not living in anything but a computer program just running its course. But we're not doing it on, we're not in a matrix on God's PC. That's not where the matrix is located. The matrix is the field energy. Oh, look at that, the Piro. Amazing. Boy, you're just getting more and more irritating now. Oh, God. I wanted to throw a rock at you in your room last week. The shit you talk. Oh, God. I just can't stand it. Ugh. The universe is made of information. Yeah, that's just such a deep thought, isn't it? No, it isn't. It's just a pile of rubbish. The universe is made out of bowling balls and fly swatters and dead flies. It's not made out of anything called information. It's just such a crock of crap. It's made out of interacting bits. I don't care what you make the bits out of. You can make the bits out of Tinkerbell. You can make the bits out of ping pong balls. You make the bits out of anything you want. You can make the bits out of little Spock, you know. But it's just bits on rock solid trajectories that can't be altered. And the interactions are formulaic and rigid. And that's the universe. There's no information anywhere. I'm just saying, it's just a silly abuse of the word information. Information is a concept about how humans exchange knowledge of functions. Like I can give you information on how thick a piece of steel needs to be to hold up a building. I can give you information about how to take a manhole cover off. I can give you information on lots of things, and that has really nothing to do with any kind of concept of what the quanta in the universe are doing. They're not exchanging anything called information. They're just interacting, and every interaction leaves no trail except for the fact that if you videoed what they did, you could understand it. But without a video, you can never go backwards because you'll never be able to understand all the elements that led to the condition that created the previous condition, because they're all an infinite, theoretically, number of interactions. So there's no information value. Well, again, you can't do it. If you can't convey it, it can't be called information, in my opinion. So I'm just saying it can't be converted into a sentence. You can't re-describe it. It's lost forever. It isn't in some frickin' nowhere zone around a black hole somewhere where it's, registering a bunch of events as historical, taking inventory of the history of the universe. Well, there is no spin. Mass is just a consequence of bits moving the speed of light. So you just add up how many bits you have moving the speed of light, and you'll know what your mass is.
Fuck you, nigger. Flat Earth.
Okay, Corey.
Fuck you, dude.
Good. Yeah, no, I'm
glad
we have you on record.
Fuck you.
Okay, we have a record of your interaction. It's really intelligent. And maybe I'll be able to, like I said, once I win a Nobel Prize, there might be some ability to get your actual IP address and get actual information about what kind of little scum does this pop into a room and say the word nigger thing. Because you should be outed. I mean, you shouldn't be anonymously allowed to just say nigger. You should actually have to be accountable. If you're going to be somebody who talks that kind of shit, okay, you shouldn't be able to do it with a mask, you little weak pussy. And frankly, we should just shoot you. Okay, as soon as you put your little white hood on, we should just put a bullet right through it. That's what the government policy should be. Anybody in a white hood should just be shot in the fucking head. All right, anyway. Well, he's always a little bit drunk. I mean, just residual, We could describe it as a description. We could describe it as a description. Well, that's just too stupid. It changes based on interaction, not observation. Well, again, I wasn't talking about observation. I'm talking about whether there's any record that is collectible in any rational or pragmatic way, and there isn't. But again, you want to play this game. You want to pretend that there's not a physical universe and that somehow it's all kind of mushy information-y thingy. It's just a silly way to use words, okay? It doesn't describe an electron, okay? Saying electrons are information is not describing what they are. A school of fish is not information. It's a school of fish. Yeah, again, whatever. It's a religion, okay? You want to sit there and convert the universe into some notion of Tinkerbell information. That's your choice. I can't.
Flat Earth, nigger.
Yeah, retard, fuckhead.
Fuck you, cockface.
Yeah, fuck you, pussy stink. Yeah. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, it's just retarded that you have to put up with this shit.
2016. You have to listen to this shit. Graffiti, fucking verbal graffiti. Yeah, your mother would be so proud. I hope she gets brain cancer soon. The state of affairs is not information, but I deny it is information to begin with. Yes, true. Fine with me. Yeah, again, so it's just fine with me. We can't really have a conversation because you can't use words correctly. Because, yeah, it just kind of ruins the whole conversation about physics when you're going to start saying, oh, well, let's talk about typing information. And let's talk about writing poems to our grandmother. And let's talk about some other bullshit that has nothing to do with physics. So, really is hopeless. I can talk to those that understand it. Yes, I'm sure the Tesla kooks might love that kind of concept, but yeah, I'm not a Tesla kook. Maybe Electric Universe guys might want to use the word information. That sounds like really cool. It's all new agey. Yeah, Matt, thou art that. He would love that. Yes, it's God's information. God's reservoir of knowledge is in the universe's information. The word is the truth, is the meaning, is the information. The information is the word. And the word is God. Well, says you they're not. Okay, I think it's quite clear that electrons are quanta. Their momentum is completely dependent on them interacting with quanta that bang into them, and they absorb the momentum. And then when they stop moving, they release the momentum in the form usually of radiation, in some kind of usually infrared radiation, but radiation. And so it's very much like a school of fish, quite identical. What do you think electrons are? They're electrical. Oh, okay. They're electrical information. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're sparky, full of sparky spark. They're magnetically thising, and then they're electrically thising. They're doing that. Yeah. They're gay as fuck. Because this is the perspective on quantum information theory. Yeah, again, and it's a theory that has absolutely no substance. It doesn't mean anything. It has no relevance, no meaning, no importance whatsoever. It's just a silly way of describing a deterministic cause and effect mechanical system. There is no distinction between the information that defines a particle and the physical particle. And again, so if there's no distinction, then the information is the physical particle. Therefore, what's the point of calling it information? It's a particle moving with a certain velocity in a certain direction. It doesn't have any other characteristics. If you can coax the same properties into being, you create the particle, and that's how they do come into being. Well, again, you're saying some matter was created somewhere. Some energy, some force, some momentum and mass was created out of nothing by information. No, I'm saying that there's no room for conversation. It's not like we're Muslim and Christian, okay? Yeah, we're the distance between us is even more great in terms of any kind of rational foundation for conversation. The idea that information processing is a way of explaining a physical universe is, my opinion, worse than saying, it's the three pigs. Don't you get it? Like, one pig makes straw house, one pig makes
stick house, one pig makes brick house. See? Don't you understand? It's all three pigs. Yeah, no, I don't understand. It sounds like baby talk. It doesn't sound like physics. Again, information processing. The universe doesn't process information. The information processes the universe, for fuck's sake. The physical things make the universe. The fish make the school. The school doesn't make the fish. So yeah, that's why what you're talking is such crap, because you don't get what runs the universe. The universe runs on quanta. It doesn't run on anything else. Force is the universe. And force is dumb as fuck and doesn't have any information in its pockets. Well, whatever. He's just going to keep saying it's information, right? So it's just, again, I'm just saying it's just thrown in there to break all conversation. It's like saying, I insist that you use the word God to describe the particle. So the Higgs boson must be called the God particle because it's the God particle. It's not just the Higgs boson particle, it's the God particle. And I'm going to insist that you say it's the God particle. So, you know, I mean, I'm not going to have a conversation based on your premise that I have to use this word information as it has something to do with physics, because it has nothing to do with physics. Beingness. I mean, really. All right, left the building. Oh, beingness. Well, yes, you did, Piero. You always insist on everybody using your vocabulary. I explained my objection. You just kept saying it. It's information. It's information. Let's not talk about physics. Let's talk about information. It's information. So don't tell me that's not what you do. I told you. I mean, there's no foundation. I'm not going to use the word God in conversations of philosophy, and I'm not going to use the word information in conversations about physics. I tell you my view, not your own view. Well, again, you're telling me a view, and I'm trying to explain to you it has no meaning to me. I can make no ground out of it. I can't make a 2 + 2 equation out of it. It completely breaks the equation. Saying W in math doesn't mean anything. So go ahead. You do your W physics. I'm going to do physics that's based on math and conservation of energy and all of those kind of theories. And you can do your physics in your mushy information world of fudgy beings. Okay, but yeah, I'm not doing being physics. I'm doing physics. Physical things are causing the universe. Not non-physical things, physical things. Things that can be quantized. Things that are things. No, 2 + 2 by itself is not information in any sense. Information to who? Does it matter to the 2? Does it matter to the plus? Does it matter to the 2? No. It has no meaning. Does something, you think the universe cares if there's 4 moons around Saturn? Oh, 4-ness is so important. I'm so glad I have 4 moons. I mean, I think it has 44 moons, but whatever. I mean, it's just stupid to call everything information. It's just stupid. It's a circumstance, you know, and it's a cause and effect universe. There are circumstances, and those circumstances inevitably get processed by the event of motion into the next circumstance. And then that circumstance is processed by motion into the next circumstance. The fact that you can notice things and identify them as, hey, that looks like Richard Nixon. So what? It doesn't mean anything. There's no connection to Richard Nixon. I mean, do you think a potato in Iowa that looks like Richard Nixon has something to do with Richard Nixon? Besides looking like Richard Nixon, I mean, something relevant, something meaningful, something in any way that anyone should give a shit about? No. It has no physical meaning. Well, again, I'm not saying I'm always defending the two-ness and four-ness as being real concepts. I'm just saying that they're real concepts to us because we can recognize the relationships between them. We can recognize full glass and half empty glass. But I'm just saying the concept doesn't mean anything to the physical entities processing the half full glass. The stuff that's in the half full glass is not at all distracted by the information value of being a half full glass. Do you accept the constraints we have in science, like pi or e, that are they just what they are until we measure them differently or make a bigger machine? I don't even know what that means. Well, again, numbers aren't what humans come up with. I mean, I'm just saying numbers are real quantities. Quantity is a real thing. Magnitude is a real thing. Speed is a real thing. And you can have proportional amounts of these real things. So I don't see any point in saying the concept of mathematical proportion doesn't exist. Of course it does. It's quite arbitrary that we would use the symbol 2 to identify 2, but I'm just saying the idea of two-ness is a real concept. There is such a thing as the category. It's a property something can have. Whether it's a meaningful property is another, that's the subject, right? I'm saying it's not necessarily in any way meaningful to anything other than some concept we've declared meaningful, but it has nothing, it means nothing to the physics. I want to know what it is like. I wonder what that is. It is what it is. Don't cut it for me. I don't know what that means. I want to know what it is like. No. Well, whatever. Why would I say, if I had a checkerboard and there was checkers on it, why would I want to know what it's like to be a checker? I mean, can't I figure out that it's not any different than being a piece of cat shit? It's just, there's no such thing as being a checker. Harmonics is just, again, that's you imposing substance to an obvious circumstance that you couldn't evade. Even if you had an infinite line, you could always cut the line in half. You know, I mean, you know, the fact that you can cut things in half, you know, you want to call that meaningful? No, it's not really meaningful. It's just a circumstantial fact. This is all terrible. It is what it is. Joseph said that, and my comment is that it is not what I want to know. That's nothing. What I want to know is how things behave. Well, see, that's, I'm just saying, you want to know how things behave, and I want to know why. Okay, so I guess maybe those are different questions. I'm saying the answer to the why question is now accessible. I know why the Earth moves towards the sun. It's because a force is pushing it there. I know why electrons are repulsing each other. It's because they're emanating a force that's hostile to each other. And you know, there's explanations for why things do what they do, and the explanations are crude and simple. The explanation is that quanta do a very simple thing. They have mass in one dimension, they move the speed of light, and they have a trajectory. And through the process of interaction, they filter polarization because they react differently. The two polarized circumstances create a change in the universe. So without the same polarization, you have an invisible interaction. It's as if nothing happened. You could think the two things bounced off. You could think the two things went straight through each other. The two universes are identical. Add different polarization and the opportunity to deflect the polarization, that is, for the polarization to stay and collect the momentum of the other object. So the momentum moves from one object to the other object. The universe is now substantially different. That simple principle is the universe.
Everybody type in the chat, Alex is a stupid nigger. Just
yeah, whatever. We got you on record too, Kim Star. Yeah, another grown up. I say kill the whitey. Kill the whitey. I mean, these people are just so disgusting. Oh, God. If I was a black man in this country, I'd be a terrorist, for fuck's sake. Take this shit from these fucking little weasels, these little pussy cowards. They don't even have the guts to say these words to a black man's face. Why don't you go up to a big black man and say that to his fucking face, you little weaselly coward? Anyway, we need a synthetic description of what it is, not an emphatically short tautology that of what it is. Oh, now he's using tautology. Holy fuck. A bunch of tautology. There it is again. Oh, gee, the magic gay philosophy word. Ugh. Why don't you just say tinker? But we need fairies.
everybody type in the chat, Alex is a stupid nigger.
Well, no one's going to do that, retard. Okay, why doesn't everybody type in the chat? Why doesn't Google do something about harassing malicious trolls? Why does YouTube let people go walking around saying nigger to people without any accountability? Why does YouTube let people do that? Why don't we call it nigger tube? Yeah, it's just disgusting. Tautologies are not about the world, they are logical constructions. Well, again, that doesn't say anything again. You either accurately, we've been over this before, Piero, but I mean, there's accurate descriptions that can be made. We can look at the universe and we can accurately define some facts. We can understand the inverse square law, which means that, yes, these forces must be radiated in a manner that requires them to move away in a straight line and diverge over distance. And then we can figure out that the speed thing is consistent between forces, and it's not really the speed of light, it's the speed of force, the speed of gravity, the speed of magnetism. These are facts. We can list these facts. We can list the fact that push is much more easily constructed. A pushing device is about 1 billion times more easy to construct than a pull device. You can make push devices out of just about any material substance on Earth, and it can take about 2 seconds to make it into a push device, where a pull device is intrinsically and fundamentally complicated because you're going to need to do something where you're basically converting push into pull, because the universe is push, it isn't pull. And these are facts that we can understand. We can understand that reflections are actually absorptions of energy. And it's the thing that doesn't reflect, that is when there's no absorption of energy. Lots of things that can be listed as facts of the function of the mechanics. And once you put all those little facts together, that's description. That's accurate description. And nowhere in there will you need to ever use the word information. You won't have to use the word hologram. You won't have to do any of that bullshit. Oh, here you did it again. Those things behave the way information does. Oh, show me information moving the speed of light. Show me information that's doing the inverse square law. Why don't you show me some inverse square diverging information? Oh, crap. There's no point. Which is my purpose? Oh, Pure has a purpose? I'm actually presenting ideas and getting emotional reactions and judgments, which is the way I collect information about your ideas. Oh, that's just so special. All you do is troll with broken vocabulary. Much like the anticontavods of the world, we'll just make all the words in
Everybody type in the chat, Alex is a stupid nigger. Just type in the chat, Alex is a stupid nigger.
Yeah, that's just, again, too brilliant. Too brilliant again. Keemstar, he's a star. Ugh, pathetic. It really is a horrible, disgusting world. Full of disgusting and horrid people. All right, so let's see. Not so good. Puro is a troll. Yeah, it's a waste of time, is what he is, because he can't rationally deal with any subject based on premises that are established. So in every conversation, he will pretend that there are no premises and that he can agree to anything, and at any time he wants, he'll just default the whole conversation and start all over. I mean, he'll just knock over the board and say, nope, starting over. I don't like those premises because they led to a shitty conclusion. So let's just start over, and there's no point. Whatever, I can handle hearing all your ideas, and I don't really worry about. Yeah, I know, because your whole philosophy is made out of mush. That's why you don't worry. I worry because I see the harm in misinformation and deception and lies and nonsense. I see how much it destroys civilization to have a bunch of idiots running the world who believe in fairy tales and holograms and information. And I see how it leads to nothing good. It's pragmatically totally idiocracy to live in a fantasy. And that's all this shit is designed to do, is to create a fantasy for people to live in. Again, I have every expectation of defending the truth. I'm not sitting here arguing. I don't get on the internet to talk daydreams and imaginations and wishy-washy mushy stuff. I'm intensely interested in the fucking truth, not babble and let's just make up a story because it's too complicated. That's how physics got broken in the first place. They all walked around saying, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you're an idiot and a lunatic, because it's not supposed to be understood, because that's physics. Physics isn't for understanding, it's for being confused and stupid. And it's that whole fucking lazy attitude of, well, let's just quit doing physics. Let's just do imagination and fun instead. Let's just draw pictures on our Etch-a-Sketch and just fuck this physics shit. We don't need any fucking physical explanations. We'll just bend stuff and we'll just invent dark matter and Huygens principles that aren't applied anywhere else. We'll just invent a bunch of lies and, oh yes, the universe, when it was 0.000000000000000 seconds old, it expanded tremendously and did all kinds of interesting things. And our proof is nothing but the fact that, well, if we make it do that, then we can make our original conception work. I mean, we can have a rhinoceros hippopotamus, if we pretend that genetics doesn't matter. So anyway, yeah. I mean, this whole thing that you live in for this abstraction crap, as if abstractions are a way of modeling and getting to the truth. But if you're objective, if your objective is not the truth, then yeah, to me, you're just talking shit. No, Piro, I'm telling you that you're not constructive. I'm not saying go away entirely, but I'm basically saying there's no ground to build anything useful on. I don't find your jabber useful. I might as well be talking about how long my dick hair is. there's absolutely no value to your contribution. It has nothing to do with physics. Therefore, I can't draw down anything. Piro said information. Ooh, cool. That I can make a drawing of it. No, I can't do shit with your contribution. It's absolutely useless to me. Do you understand? Useless. Like your silly ideas of taxing property and everything else. It's just useless in terms of being of any value to anything I see as productive change or progressive or rational or sensible. I can make no value use of anything you say ever anymore. You don't say anything ever that fits into any model of anything that I own. All the models of reality that I own, Piro crap, just won't go in there. Okay, it just doesn't do anything in any of the rational boxes I am owned by. Ooh, that was a good way to put it. Yeah, well, again, that's your business. I'm not here to do the social thing, okay? I know you like talking to people with that brain surgery, and you like talking to psychopaths, and you like doing all this interesting thing. I don't care for any of that shit and have no interest in it. So, again, we just have completely different agendas. So, yeah, you might as well just fuck off, because obviously, it's of no concern. So, okay, fine. I'm concerned about physics being wrong. I'm concerned, that this propaganda religion is pretending to have something to do with science. Okay, see again, so one day my theory is, well, maybe you're onto something, and the next minute is, I do understand a lot about your nearly incoherent system. So where did you demonstrate anything incoherent? What part do you find incoherent? See, that would have been a worthwhile subject here. Instead of talking about fucking information, the worthwhile subject would be what part is incoherent? The fact that the inverse square law applies to all the forces in the universe, and that all those forces, instead of separating light out of those forces, it should be understood that light is one of those forces. That would be the sensible thing to do, is to recognize that if it's doing the r squared thing and it's doing the speed of light thing, so it's not only doing the straight line movement thing, it's doing the same speed thing. Now, those two facts you think is incoherent, that I would argue that, oh, well, maybe they've totally misunderstood what force is, and that force and light are the same thing. That force is just light you can't see. Duh. And so when we call photons tons, maybe we should call gravitons gravitons, and maybe we should call magnetons magnetons, and consider them real particles instead of virtual particles. Now, what was incoherent about that? Why don't you explain exactly what's incoherent? Oh, fuck you in this too much fish metaphor. Let's take a survey of the people who've been in this room before over the last, say, 6 weeks. How many times have I used the fish metaphor? I mean, realistically, once per video? I mean, I probably used the dancing guy to analogize time dilation more in the last 6 weeks than I've used fish. I mean, actually, the other day, the metaphor was a hat, okay? Like the quanta are exchanging the hat of polarization. So that was the metaphor. But so you say the fish metaphor is incoherent. So you think it's incoherent to use for mass, the idea of a mass of fish all having different directions at any one moment. They have a certain vector. So if I froze the school of fish, each of the fish would be pointed. And if the school of fish wasn't moving, you could count the fish, and you would find that an equal number of fish were pointed in every direction. That to you is incoherent. That to you doesn't make sense as understanding conservation of energy and understanding how momentum has to spread through matter. and that our matter ourselves, if I froze your matter at this very second, and we could see the vector of every little quanta moving in you, that you might realize that there's as many quanta going forward as there are back, and left as there are right. You can't understand that? That's incoherent. Yeah, well then fuck you, you're an idiot. Why don't you make a response video explaining all this incoherency, what you don't understand about something I've actually said? Like, just quote me and then prove how that quote is silly. Incoherent, that quote is incoherent. So anyway, he's obviously given up, which is good. I mean, it's on the record, you know. I mean, he came in here a couple of nights and he said this shit like, "Oh yeah, well I sort of get what you're talking about now, right?" That's what he said, right? I get what you're on to, you know. And then he's back to this incoherent crap. So that's exactly my critique of Puro. There's never anything means anything. Any kind of durable way. Yeah, too cool. So what you up to, Troy?
Not much.
Well, then fuck off. You know, I'm not really doing the not much. Yeah, you know. Yeah, he's got an icon, you know, pointing his middle finger. I don't think he really wanted to do much physics. Oh, God. Things equal each other. From there, you can start using information to construct a view of reality. I'm sorry, that just doesn't say anything at all to me. John. He's using some kind of app. That means you're probably doing something I don't like. What you up to, John?
No, I'm here to listen.
But you can listen without being in the room. What are you doing in the room, John?
Well, can't I come in the room anyways?
No. Yeah,
What?
why? Because I got no use for that shit. I'm doing some
Why
kind
is
of
it?
177th thing, whatever you're doing. Yeah, what's the point? What? I need your icon in my room, you idiot? No, I don't. Oh, fuck. People are just so retarded. I find it funny that he thinks tautologies tell us if the premise is true or not. I think, like I said, even using the word tautology doesn't mean anything. What does that word mean? You want to tell me your definition of it? Because I don't understand what the hell people are talking about. I mean, you either describe something accurately or you don't. Aren't those the only things you can do? Describe something accurately or don't?
Kicking people out for no reason just because the link's in the description. Good on ya.
Yeah, whatever that means. I'm just saying that people should be able to figure out when they've been invited to be an asshole and when they're not invited to be
Well,
an
I'm not being an arsehole. Like, I never did something wrong to start with anyways.
Well, I'm
So
just
why
saying,
did I get
what are you
removed?
doing? You're in the room and your name is Fat. Now, what's the whole point? What are you
Well,
exactly?
you removed my first 2 accounts, and my first one was my original one, my real name.
Yeah, so you're just a troll with a bunch of
I'm
accounts.
not a troll.
Well, I think you are. If you have a bunch of accounts, for what purpose? But besides being a troll, and your account name is Fat. I mean, you know, well, how is somebody with a brain supposed to say, "Oh yeah, I can't wait till Fat comes in the room"? Jesus fucking Christ. Well, not saying something to you is not really important, Gary. LOL. I don't know what that means. I find it funny that he thinks tautologies tell us if the premises is true or not. Well, it's not something. It's not saying something to you is not really important, Gary. I don't know what that means, but I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know how to function in a philosophical world where, like I said, what's the point of describing something unless the description is intended to be accurate? I mean, what's the fucking point? I mean, there's not tautologies, there's theories, that have a lot of evidence, and theories that are loop-de-doo and made up and phantasmagorical and fantastic and belong in the movies and such. Fabulistic, or, hope that clears up the confusion. Well, it didn't do me much good. Sorry. Yeah, no, I just didn't get it. Well, in philosophy, we consider arguments valid even if the premises are false. Well, like I said, I'm just saying that, in my opinion, you can't do that successfully. You can't use a false premise to create with any likelihood of success. You're not going to build the truth out of lies. So, I just don't see the point. Call me a troll. Kiss your cunt. I don't know. I won't call you a troll, but I will. I will think unfondly of you as one, and hope you get what you deserve. In philosophy, we consider arguments valid even if the premises are false. I just can't see how you can do that. That's like saying 2 + 3 can equal 4.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Whatever. Too interesting. 4 words.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Oh, I think I ejected the wrong guy. I didn't do that. Oh, okay, there he is. Well, he blipped in and then he blipped out. I'm pretty sure I didn't kick him. Australian guy trying to make an appearance. Hopefully. Yeah, he just left on his own. I didn't kick him. I mean, he just left because his technology failed or something. For computer making. Actually, they are the basis of computers. I just don't understand how falsely premised arguments are part of computer design. I just don't buy that argument. Sorry, no sale.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Yes, keep displaying your asshole. Go ahead. Like I said, for hopefully in the future we will be able to out you and properly humiliate your parents. Well, I'm just saying, and whose philosophy? Whose philosophy? You get now. See, I'm just saying. Piro thinks you can use the word information inappropriately, and now you're going to tell me what philosophy is. Oh, fine. I don't think you can do that in philosophy. I think philosophy is a science like physics. I think you are using facts to describe accurately reality. That's what philosophy intends to do and should do, and that's what philosophy is. It's the science of discovering the truth.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
I don't even get the joke, this Mr. Crab thing. Is this supposed to impress somebody? Well, again, you'd have to show me a logic gate that is dependent on a false premise. So I just don't, that doesn't sound like logic to me. That sounds like bullshit. big heaping piles of bullshit. Yeah, well, it's all convenient for nihilists and other whack jobs who want to pretend reality is something they make up in their head, but it has nothing to do with anything else. Well, I didn't block you. It doesn't say I blocked you, Michael, so it just says you left. So I don't know. I mean, there was a troll in the room at the time you were coming in. So, but you're obviously not blocked because you can post comments, but I don't know if there's any way I can do anything about it, which is the unfortunate part if you have been in some way damaged. I can set you as a moderator. Maybe I'll give you superpowers. So I set you as a moderator, so I don't know what else I can do to fix any problem. But, you know, I don't know what else I can do. Well, how did somebody else can block people? That doesn't seem right either. Yeah, there's so many things with this freaking software that just plain suck.
Yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Too interesting. I have to see if there's something I can do to unblock him if he's blocked. Maybe I'll go to my settings and see if there's something I can set.
Nigger.
Yeah, too cool. Get what you deserve. Yeah. Get exactly what you deserve in life. Little scum. Yeah. Alright, see what channel does. Let's see if channel has any options here. Branding, I don't want to do that. Upload defaults, that won't do me any good. Let's see what advanced settings do. Advertisements, no, I don't need that. AdWords, I don't need that. Yeah, that shit, that's nothing to do with anything useful. I'll try community here and see if there's any options in there. And community settings.
Yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Mr. Crab. That's just so fascinating. The world is such a better place for such people.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
All right, users. Michael S. Yes, you're on the good list. Hidden users. Let's see if you're on there. Yeah, well, Hoffa, I'll probably take him off of there. I haven't seen him. He's probably dead. The Colonel. Let's see. Apologists. Ronald is an asshole. Yeah, these really aren't the same.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Really aren't the same people, so I don't know. I guess I can't do anything about it. Unfortunately. Yeah, there's not too many people on the list, which is kind of irritating. I mean, I've certainly, comments closely matching these words will be held for review. Live chat matching these words will be blocked. Oh, that's sort of an interesting, I mean, why don't they, they give you these examples, e.g., orange, Granny Smith, grapefruits. Oh, yeah, like those are the words I'm worried about. Yeah, sure. So I'm going to have to spend all day typing in into a fucking window. Let's see. Is there any way to add somebody to the blocked approved users? Well, let's see. To approve users, use the flag menu on the comments page. To approve users, use the flag menu on the comments page. That doesn't even make any sense. Default settings. All comments for disable comments. Allow comments. Allow all creators. Hold creators credits for review. Allow all creator credits. I don't even know what that is. What's a creator credit? What the hell is that? Some shit just doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Is there anything I can do here? Let's see. These users can remove comments which will appear in your held for review page. Well, I'm not going to give a shit about that. Yeah, I don't see any way I can make you any more of a person than I already have. Let's see. Nothing else I can do here.
I'm not starting my fucking self. You fucking stupid bitch.
No.
And righteous fucking nigger Alex is doing this shit.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, how many accounts do you have? I mean, I don't know why does YouTube let these people do this shit? It's just so obviously stupid. I mean, it's just, I should put.
Fucking God, I'm gonna go. Everybody type in the chat, Alex is a stupid nigger.
Yeah, well, Google's a stupid nigger for letting you stupid niggers do this stupid nigger shit. God damn. Ugh. Let's see. I might as well type in some words since I'm here. Let's see. And what other word can I put in there? That's probably enough for now. Satisfies me. All right. So anyway, I guess we've done all we need to do here. That didn't work at all.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
I don't know who that's supposed to mean.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
I just don't know who that's supposed to mean something to. They just hate our freedom. Like Muslims, we should kill them. The graffiti artists, they can't buy their own paper to draw on. They have to draw on somebody else's paper. Little creepy thieves. Should be treated appropriately. And such. Let's see. I blocked Joseph. Yeah, well, what is this? I don't know, Joseph. I don't know if that's your job here, but it's up to you. You're allowed to do whatever you want, I suppose, since I gave you power. But the whole point of me giving you power wasn't for you to actually use any of it. But anyway. Hey, can you create a live channel on another account? I don't even know what that means, but you can certainly. I can't. Well, I mean, I can, but I'm not going to. You should be unblocked probably next time you come. I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens. I don't know how you got, like I said, it just still doesn't make much sense to me. You're not on the block list. I'll look around some more and some way to fix it, but I don't understand it exactly. Yeah, well, I might not be here in a few minutes. We'll see. It is pretty fucked up. I can't keep the trolls out, and I can't get the people I want to talk to in. So, way to go, Google. You're just so cool. Yeah, all your little smart employees are so clever. Just wonderful functionality. Yeah, can't keep a troll out. Can't let people in. Yeah, just too brilliant. Jesus, Google sucks. I'm going to change the title of this video to Google sucks. Okay. Let's Yes, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know about tomorrow, but we'll see what day I decide. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not. Who knows? Yeah, it's just unfortunate, but you have to see. Yeah, like I said, you might be forever blocked. You know, I can't get into Piro's room on my Amendum channel because somebody else, you know, that he gave mod powers to blocked me. I don't think you can, you know, it looks like it's always a disaster of some kind, which is just so stupid. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see what happens. And so forth and whatnot. We can always do Skype. If you have Skype, we can maybe do Skype. My Skype is Do Not God. So I can always just talk to you that way. Because we obviously don't need the extra trolly guests anyway. They're really not much of an addition to any of this. Let's see, right now, let's see, yeah, well, maybe I could do a little Skype now. I don't know if I have any camera. You have to see, do I have camera? I mean, I like to record stuff because, you know, no point in talking if you don't record it. Yeah, I know, I'll get my other camera. It's got plenty, I've got at least an hour's worth on that other camera. Be right back. Oof. Let's see. Can you make the live stream private? Joined users only via invite. Yeah, I think you can only do that if you do the. You can't do it through Google's. You know, you have to put one of those. What do you call it? Third-party video rendering thingies, and yeah, the only one that was free is. Doesn't work on my computer. Yeah, it's not compatible with Windows 10, which is kind of silly. So it didn't work on this computer that I use, mainly the computer I use. So, but yeah, I didn't even like the idea of loading software. Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't like loading third-party software that has access to, you know, almost every port in your computer.
Nobody who the hell knows what they can do. Free software. Just because that the ads are coming eventually or some other crap is coming. Nothing's free, as you may have noticed. Let's see. I haven't gotten any notices here. Mimic. I don't know. Is that you? Whatever a mimic. Hi, Gary. I don't know. I mean, what's your? Did you? I mean, I don't know if that's who you are. So I can't accept it till I know who it is. So, but that's you. It sort of looks like Mike. Well, I'll accept. I can always get rid of him later. So go ahead and try a call. Do it on my crappy pad, then I can keep this video open maybe. We'll see how that goes. Well, so far so bad. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Whoops. Whoa, what the hell is going on here? You called me twice. Fucker. Hello, testing.
Hello.
Can you hear
Hello.
me? Hello.
Hey.
All you get is my forehead, right? This is such great.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's just too brilliant the way Skype works, I mean the camera on these pads is so stupid.
Hey, I think you're going to have to close down your other room because
Well, I don't think that'll be a problem. I can, because it's not playing now. Just a minute. Yeah. Let's just see. You
finish what you need to do. I'm just going to get a drink. I'll talk to you in 2 minutes, Gary.
All right, go get a drink, and then we'll see what the technical difficulties are.
No problem.
I think I just have to turn his volume down, right? Yeah, I have to turn. Let's see. The microphone is here. So if I turn his volume down, then he shouldn't get any feedback. Unless he has the room still open, right? Yeah, it has to be. All right, so let's see. Close this volume down.
Yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. He came back with a new screen name, so I guess I finally successfully blocked him, but I'll have to make some other people moderators someday so they can do this kicking thing. It does take a little bit of skill. They should just give you a one button thing where you just hit it and it just kills the guy. But anyway, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Mr. Krabs.
All right, well, just a second. Oh, missed him again. It's very quiet. Yeah, it shouldn't be quiet. I think it should work okay. All right, you hear me okay now? All right.
I obviously wanted to have a science conversation with you, and I do understand it's probably very late in the morning there for you.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, the questions, I have another list of questions for you, but
you lost them.
It's actually, I've got some things that I have.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Missed him.
You're really getting a problem there, aren't you?
Yeah, well, this is what happens. This is why, it's just Google Plus sucks.
I think what happened earlier is I joined right at the same time as that person did, and somehow, I'm not sure if you blocked him and accidentally blocked me. I know you're aware of that, but something's really fucked up there.
Yeah, it doesn't say I blocked you, but it doesn't give me clear, it doesn't say anything clearly here. But there was some guy in the text who said he did something. So, I don't know. Sometimes that works where somebody can randomly, fuck with something. So I don't know exactly how all this works, but the point is you're not on my blocked list, so I don't know what else to do. You know what I'm saying? You can't access any kind of list in this stupid plus rooms. So I'll have to look on my Google Plus page and see if there's some place there I can fix it.
Yeah. When you made me a moderator, I actually blocked someone named Joseph because they were insulting you. But if you want to unblock them, it's up to you.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
I'm not gonna miss them, right?
I just wonder why you can't block that person. What won't it let you?
Well, you have to go through this 3-step process. You have to hit this little arrow on their icon, and then you have to hit the eject button, and then you have to verify the eject. And so by the time you do that, they leave. You know what I mean? So they get out of the room before you have a chance to block them,
I blocked Joseph in one click.
Well, I know, but that's in the chat, okay? It's a little different when they're in the room.
Because he's gay.
Thanks for giving me a Skype address. I was actually going to send you an email on the website and ask you, so I'm glad I have that now. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it might be a better
He's a
way to
faggot,
do
dude.
some videos just because then we won't be distracted by the trolls. So,
Yeah. Given the time there, and I don't have the time to talk to you, unfortunately, I did just want to say hello. I've got a list of questions. I reckon if we spoke about it, it would probably take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So what I might do, it's all right. We won't do them now, but I'll give you a little bit of a heads up of the things I've been reading about. So maybe you won't get hammered with things that you don't know what I'm talking about. Like I know you're aware of a lot of things, but basically the next time we chat, I wanted to speak to you about AM radio signals, signal modulation of AM.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Magnetons, photons, gravitons, the Earth's magnetic field and the North and South Pole, and electric field lines and magnetic field lines. So basically 5 things.
Mr. Krabs.
And AM modulation of radio signals, okay?
Sure.
So if you needed to bone up a little bit on that sort of stuff, I just didn't want to put you in a position where you're on camera and you're quite difficult, of course. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have enough of a memory of, amplitude modulation, so I should be able to remember what AM is versus, FM. It's just the fact that you're making the signal louder and weaker. You know what I'm saying? Stronger and weaker signal for AM. So it's just really a frequency that's louder or same frequency, just higher amplitude.
Yeah. So, I just want to.
Yeah, Mr. Krabs.
And look, I'll let you continue on there or go to sleep, and I'll try and hopefully see you online it's Friday here, so I'll see you over the weekend, I hope, at some stage. We can have a chat and make a video.
Yeah, it's up to you. When I do the room, and then if there's some particular time that's good for you, just give me a message on Skype, and just convert the time into Eastern Standard, so I know what time you're available. So if you can just figure out what time it is here, and then tell me what time would be good for you, then maybe we can do Skype.
Yeah, all right. Unfortunately, so I think about 2 o'clock in the afternoon is about 2 of the.
Yeah, well, like I say, it really doesn't matter to me. I'm usually up at night. Nights are when I usually do most of my work, just because I'm not distracted. So it's not necessarily a bad time for me. So I don't have any obligations in the middle of the morning. So it's kind of a good time to get stuck for an hour or two.
Yeah, all right. Well, you just do your normal thing, and I'll send you a message. And actually, what I might do is I'll copy and paste the list of questions I have for you right now, if you like, and you can just go over it, then you can have some explanations. But when we do the video, if you want to make a video, I'll just read the questions to you, and you already know what they are. If you'd like to do it that way, is that okay?
Yeah, either way, I guess, yeah, we'll both know what the question are, and then we'll just state what the question was, and I'll state my answer.
Yeah. I'm going to paste in right now. I'll paste in my list of questions, so there you go. And you can have a read through that, and yeah, we'll do it next time I see you online. I'll give you a message and say hello, and we'll tee it up.
Good enough.
Right, Gary, thanks for saying hello again, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, next time. Okay, bye. All right, nice enough guy and such. And so back to reality, one form of it. So he just doesn't give up, does he? No, he doesn't, Gary. He doesn't give up. So anyway, I just, really is just, wow, Google, it's such a display of such great technology. You can't stop trolls from exploiting your own service for useless purposes. I mean, it amazes me that this is what they, somehow they're making money on these trolls. So that's the reason why they exist, obviously. But what's the point of them providing this functionality if you can't practically use it? I mean, it just doesn't make much sense. Oh, people don't like you, so you'll get harassed off the internet. I mean, it would be impractical to use the room. What's the point of that? Seems really stupid. Really stupid. Let's see, add apps. Well, let's see if there's an app that's worth adding here. I don't see anything here. Draw, no, I don't want to. I want to, no, fuck this. This looks like nothing but trouble. Shitty apps.
Yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Let's see, what do these buttons do? What's this little green thing do? It doesn't have any descriptions. Just, oh, that's volume. That's too interesting. He's such an interesting fellow. Nothing in control room. Screen share and then chat. Chat is no value. So there's just nothing. It'll give you no tools to do a damn thing. Really is stupid. Incredibly stupid. Just bandwidth settings. Let's see if settings gets me anywhere. Of course not. Whatever, my hair is a problem for you, retard?
Yeah, Mr. Krabs. Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Retards. If they were observing with tech support live, I don't even know what that means. Who was observing what? Yeah, I couldn't turn up Mike's volume because then he gets feedback. So have to figure out some other way to do the Skype inside the room thing. It wouldn't be the best choice of methods. All right. Well, anyway, probably enough of this. I'll have to see if I can find some settings here somewhere. But I really haven't been able to find any. So I don't think there are any. So Google does suck.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, whatever. Till next time and such, and so forth and whatnot. Really, it's no point. You know,